All right, welcome back, fellow jazz bums. Today we are going to get into a newly announced box set. It's Miles Davis in France. This is a 1963 and 64 box of sessions. Before we get into it, remember to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel. We also have the Jazz Bums Discord. We'll drop an invite link in the description below, so come and hang out with us there. And then we also live stream every Friday, so come and check us out there as well. With that, we're going to kick it over to Felipe. Felipe, so tell us about this bootleg series and how this box fits in.
Hey, Mike. Hey, Chris. Welcome back, everybody. Bootleg series. So Miles has two main reissue campaign, not reissue, but issue campaigns, right? The bootlegs and the complete sessions. The complete sessions, they go over a certain period or certain records. They just put out everything that was available from those sessions. The bootlegs, however, they're just like, let's say, the Bob Dylan bootlegs also put out by Columbia. They are famous recordings for either, let's say, a record was released back then, but compressed versions. So these the full sets, the full nights that were played at specific important concerts or time points in his career. So you have Newport, you have Fillmore, you have his 80s stuff, Europe 67, 69, Miles and Coltrane, all their full final sessions, things like this. So, and they were initially released as CDs. Some of those, especially the complete ones, they were released as mosaic box sets on vinyl at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But mostly it's been always a series that's been tailored for CDs because of the length, obviously, and the booklets, the whole package and everything. So now we came to the 8th installment. The previous one, the 7th, was based on his 80s recordings, his final 80s shows with Columbia. He did before moving to Warner. And now this is France, 63, 64, which shows a very important transition period for his career, the band. And I think, it's fantastic release and it's really worth talking about. That's why we're here today.
Felipe, did you want to show any of the boxes that you brought?
Yes. So Chris is going to show the CD boxes. I have most of them on CD. I have only one on vinyl.
Okay.
Which is this one here. They are being released by Music on Vinyl. It looks like this. This is, you open like a regular cover. And in this case, it comes with a booklet. In this case, each of the records, they have one of the band members on the cover. In the back, you have the songs. This particular one, Volume 1, Europe 67, mostly European concerts in Sweden, Denmark, at the height of the second quintet, right, 67. And also you have a nice booklet, which in the CD is a little more compact and easier to handle. I personally prefer the CD versions because they're smaller, they look very nice on the shelf. They're a little lighter than the record ones. Right, Chris? How do you like the CD box?
Oh, it's great. So I only have one. I've got this one here. So this is the Miles Davis at Newport. Which one is this? Is this number 4? Yes, this is volume 4. So this is him, all his Newport stuff from 55 to 75, I believe. And, it's similar to what Felipe showed, but it's CD box, obviously. So, much lighter, much less cost, obviously, right? This one came with a nice booklet and all that too, of course. Let me show you that real quick. So, much smaller booklet, but this one's actually really kind of got a lot of information in it. And then this one actually came with a poster. It came with a nice little poster, whatever.
Nice.
So yeah, I'm in for the CDs. Now, they did just repress several of the vinyl versions. The one Felipe has is one of them. So I think there's 2 or 3 that are available right now on vinyl.
By Music on Vinyl, yes. This one seems to be coming directly from Columbia. I'm not sure if the new one's going to be Music on Vinyl, but it looks like it's going to be Columbia directly. Okay. At least the first run, right?
Well, okay. They probably clued into the fact that they can probably sell a bunch of the vinyl versions now.
Is there so Sony owns Columbia, and do they also own Music on Vinyl, or is there an affiliation there, or are they separate companies?
I don't think so.
I am not sure. I think they might have a good relationship.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
But
to that point, real quick, all of this stuff in the bootleg series and these, extended versions, it's all of his Columbia stuff. because Sony Legacy puts all of it out, and which Legacy is like the the catalog branch of Sony. So they're putting
Okay.
this out. We got a few details. We don't have like pressing plant details or any of that, but so it's called Miles in France, Miles and Davis Quintet 63-64, the Bootleg Series Volume 8. That's a mouthful. It was produced by Steve Berkowitz, who's a multi-Grammy winning it's a team of multi-Grammy winning people, I guess. Steve Berkowitz, Richard Seidel, and Michael Kaskuna. So this was one of the last productions that Kaskuna worked on before he passed away earlier this year. And it's mastered by a Sony music engineer named Vic Anasini at Battery Studios in New York City.
Yeah. And Michael Kaskuna is kind of a legendary producer. He produced the Mosaic series, the old Blue Note Twofer series. He at one point owned the Francis Wolff photography before selling it to Blue Note, and he's a legend within the space. So having this one of his last projects is something that's notable.
Yep.
All right. Well, do you guys want to take a look at it? So
yeah, let's see it.
Sure.
all right. So there's three different things that are coming out. We mentioned the box, but there's actually a 2 LP set. That's an extract from the box, which we'll get to. But let's start with the 8 LP box. So this is what it comes with. It's going to have 4 different gatefolds that contain 2 discs per. So you're getting 8. There is a booklet. It looks like it comes with lots of photography, and then there's a box that also encases everything. So it looks like it'll be a nice package. And for this, the price point is $224, which I think is competitive for what you're getting here. It's not unreasonable for other box sets that are being reissued. So that is what we're dealing with the 8 LP box. Any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, the price wise, it's pretty good. It's like $29 an LP, which isn't bad at all.
Plus a nice book.
Oh yeah, for sure. And now I wouldn't consider these like audiophile releases necessarily. I'm not saying they sound bad, but most of their live shows, right? And they were recorded wherever, so the audio quality will probably vary from show to show. The Newport one, what's funny to me, the Newport one was the early stuff I thought sounded better than the 70s stuff, like just sound wise, not musically, but so that was interesting. But yeah, I'm not going to be getting the LP box. There's no way.
Okay, all right.
It's just too much, too big, too much flipping.
Chris, you kind of alluded to the source of what these are being cut from. I don't think it explicitly states that this is tape or files. So I think the assumption is probably files. It probably makes sense. It probably is going to sound very good, and they probably were able to perhaps elevate the recording because of, since it's live, there may be issues. So that's all speculation, but they're probably going to sound very good.
Well, that's an interesting point, because I mean, this guy is their mastering engineer, right? I don't know this gentleman, Vic Anasini, but it's mastered at Battery Studios in New York City, which is kind of interesting, because that's like why they stopped letting tapes out of Nick, because there was no more studios that were cutting stuff in New York City, right? That's what we've always been told. So when Sterling left New York City, that's what we've been told, is when Sony stopped letting tapes out of their vaults to be recorded, or cut to.
And again, I think that's one thing we have been discussing a lot lately, right? Given the historical importance of those things, it's actually better that they have a really good digitally sourced archive thing, so they can. And it's Miles Davis mass produced thing, right? It's not like they're probably pressing a lot. They don't want to be running tapes all the time for this kind of project at this size.
As part of this, we're also getting the Miles Davis in Europe. So this was an LP that was released in the mid-60s of the session in Antibes, and this will be a part of the Bootleg series. So this is something that obviously in the 60s it would have been sourced from tape. but this will be a part of it. So for anyone who has this and picks up the box, it'll be interesting to hear how they improved upon this copy.
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, I have no complaints about the series. I think that they do a great job in sound restoration and presentation there. I think it is really, really important. Really good what they do. Getting to the point, right? Why is the 63, 64 period so important? I think that's why Miles, he just disbanded his model. So let's not forget, between hard bop and free jazz, there was model and there was Miles, right? So Miles never embraced fully the free jazz initially. He was very critical of it. Not much on the style, but on the skills, especially people like Eric Dolphy and Ornette Coleman and Don Cherry. He was not a big fan of them, but he kind of liked what they did. He wanted to sort of incorporate that in his sound. And after that transition period, records like the Bossa Nova one or Someday My Prince Will Come, then George Coleman is in the band for quite some time, actually, not right? And so he participates in this guy here, Seven Steps to Heaven, which is, to me, is one of the finest Miles records. This is really, really great.
Very nice.
And then they have like a live set, right, Mike?
Yeah, so
with you?
they put out Four and More. So Four and More and what is it? My Funny Valentine.
My Funny Valentine, yes.
They're part of the same live session, same concert, but the Four and More is the more upbeat tracks, and then Valentine is the ballad tracks. But it's the same group, including George Coleman.
Yeah.
So you have George Coleman here as well.
And the thing is, so this concert was recorded at the Philharmonic for NAACP. They were trying to fundraise to help voter registration in Mississippi and Alabama. And the band volunteered. They were not paid for that. Miles never told the band they wouldn't get paid, but they did. And the performance was good, but not what you expect from those guys at that point. Everybody, I mean, if you look at Tony Williams' output at that period, Ron Carter, he was also playing with Eric Dolphy and Graham Moncourt. So they were going out there, but the concert came pretty tame in a sense, not very exploratory as they would hope and expect. Even Miles didn't like. But so everybody ended up pointing their fingers at George Coleman because he's such a terrific player, right? Really, really sharp and perfect in a sense. And they felt that he didn't push the music too far. They were kind of frustrated with his performance, and things kind of escalated, and then he ended up quitting. Also because he was tired of being erratic. Miles, getting sick all the time. He doesn't get paid and stuff like that. So he said, guys, I'm out. And then in the meantime, they have Tony Williams. Tony Williams suggests take Sam Rivers. They had shows scheduled in Japan for the summer. So by Tony suggesting they bring Sam Rivers, which Miles also likes Sam Rivers. And there's a nice register of this concert here. This is Miles in Tokyo, also put up on music on vinyl, which is a good set. However, the band is not happy as well because Sam Rivers go too much in the other direction. Although he exercises freely, he goes too sudden, too fast into things that they're not like they want a more like a rolled up kind of thing. And the band doesn't like having to run after him or follow. And you can listen to this Tokyo record, you can see his solos, and then you understand why. Then Sam Rivers doesn't stay for too long, and then Miles was waiting for Wayne Short. He would never try to hire Wayne Short while he was still working for Art Blakey. That was the thing. And when he learned about Wayne's departure from Art Blakey, he actually asks the whole band to call him first. Everybody from the band call Wayne Shorter. So when Miles called Wayne, he said he had to accept it. And Miles said, I sent that motherfucker a first-class ticket to fly here and rehearse it. And then they start playing immediately. And then everything just clicked.
Now, Wayne, before he joins Miles, is he still with the Messengers?
Yes, he was with the
Okay.
Messengers. He quits the Messenger. Miles calls him like right after,
Okay. Okay.
and then everything just clicks because he allowed. First, he brought his composition. If you think about, Miles was trying to be more experimental, freer, but on his own old repertoire. There was nothing new. They were just playing old stuff. If you look at this Four and More and all, it just reheating old stuff. When Wayne comes, then the flow starts of new work and new takes, and even the rework of old stuff changes. So that's when, and I think these concerts, that's what they capture, right? That's what they're showing, and
So just to take a beat on Wayne Shorter, Felipe, can you just speak a little bit about his compositions and how much he was influenced in terms of band direction for both Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers and Miles? So I think it's just worth emphasizing how important this musician is to both these groups and then to kind of the genre in general.
yes, yes. So when he was with Blake, and you guys feel free to chime in at any time. He one of the things I read in many different other musicians' books, he was someone that was very creative. He wanted to play his compositions, but they were not necessarily fitting with Art Blakey, right? Because he didn't feel the need to be so explosive. He wanted to be more on tonalities and landscapes and colors of sound. Let's put in a way more complex chord structures. And Art Blakey, he would be that kind of music director from the back, kind of pushing the horns. He would crash and say, "Play louder, go." He did a lot of really Morgan Wayne Shorter specific at this point. Although Wayne said that helped him develop a lot, but it was not something that he was necessarily interested in. And he knew Miles, but Miles was very loyal to Art Blakey. He would never court Wayne Shorter while playing with Blakey. He had a very interesting kind of composition. If you look at his personality, right, something that's interesting in science fiction and stories and mythology, yoga. He's very connected to market, dreamy kind of sound in a sense, not so direct most of the time. And I think that fitted really well with Miles because allowed those guys to improvise, not on a hard bop way, but on a free jazz way. That would be more open, but still always going back to a root and then closing, making the deconstructing, but also deconstructing very beautifully with a lot of style. And if you think about their very first record was ESP, right? What else do I need to say? And I think he was adamant. And Herbie Hancock used to say, Wayne Shorter was the only composer that whatever Wayne Shorter would bring to him, he would not change anything.
Wow. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, Wayne's just like a different animal, man. Like, when you listen to some of his lead records, right? Like it's just different, right? Like they feel like they're free, but it's not the same kind of free jazz that you're used to hearing in that time period. It's just more beautiful, I guess, a lot of the time,
Yes, I agree, Chris. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, I always kind of categorize Wayne's music as post-bop, but I feel like that's just really a way to label and categorize things, but it doesn't really speak to the experience of listening to his style because he has such roots within kind of the tradition, and then what they were doing on Blue Note, all the Art Blakey, and that kind of like hard bop, like quintessential hard bop sound. And he's also on sideman on a lot of projects on Blue Note outside of Blakey's group, and then he has his own lead stuff. And I just feel like he always kind of adds like this. I don't know, like this. I think Felipe, when you were saying like a dreamscape, when you think of things like Night Dreamer and Juju, and these types of albums, there's definitely pieces of that where he really does kind of like skillfully and effectively paint with with his compositions, something that really does stand out from a lot of other composers and players. And it took me, I always, knew about Wayne Shorter, but just in my own collecting, it took me a little while to really kind of understand how influential he was in terms of creating the sound, his own sound, like his own lead records, being that like um, composer for Art Blakey, which Blakey was known to do. He brought people on like Bobby Timmons and Benny Golson and Wayne Shorter, and he would do those compositions. But I mean, when he was with the Messengers, all of those albums are like Wayne Shorter songs. I mean,
Yeah.
it's pretty incredible. And then when he moves to Miles, it's similar, where Miles really kind of lifts him up and and they do his music. And Felipe, I think you're absolutely right. Like that post bop, dreamy, creative style that he has really does match well with Miles's tone. It's almost like a perfect match, um, in a way. So okay, we're so within this box set of these four um, gatefolds, 8 albums. How much is the George Coleman, and then how much is Wayne Shorter, in terms of how the set is divided? Do we know that?
Yes. So 1, 2, and 3 are the 3 nights at the Festival of Antibes in south of France.
Okay.
It's so the festival still exists, and there was like this third installment. The festival started in 1960. It's a tribute to Sidney Bechet
Oh,
that spent a lot of time there. So it was very connected to Sidney Bechet. So let's make a festival as a tribute to Sidney. So in '63, the quintet played there with Coleman for 3 nights, and that record that you show, Miles in Europe, is like those 3 nights condensed into one record. So that's the beauty of this bootleg series, bringing the whole thing. And the last double one is the Paris concert the next year, right after the Berlin concerts that had already been released as Miles in Berlin, which was kind of the debut of Wayne Shorter with the band. And you can also buy it separate with a really cool color record, like with the French flag.
Paris Jazz Festival.
This has not been released before, apparently, either.
Okay.
No, I don't believe so.
So this is the one. This is the stuff with Wayne. So this is the last 2 LPs from the eight disc box. But if you just want these 2, that's a pretty cool package.
Yeah.
With the French colors there.
$50, more affordable, but it's $50 for 2 LPs.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did also just want to show the CD set here.
Yes.
So the CD set is another option. It contains everything that's in the 8 LP box for the price point of $100. That is another option as well.
I was gonna say, I think it's neat that they're doing the 2 LP for that one concert that hasn't really been released before. That I think that'll be a sweet spot for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm pretty sure me and Felipe are just gonna get the CD box, right, Felipe?
Oh, for sure. I'm just going to continue the stretch. I bought this one as a one-off just to see how it was. I have it on CD as well. And I mean, if you have the whole thing, that's just a line on your shelf. You just want to keep it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
And I know that we're, speaking a lot about the Wayne Shorter piece, but one thing that's notable about the George Coleman aspect of this is that there's not as much out there with George in the quintet. We spoke about the live stuff. He was on 7 Steps to Heaven. But this will be another set to experience how, what he brought to Miles's quintet. So I think, in terms of it being mostly George Coleman, that's actually of value, because there's a ton of Wayne Shorter stuff out there with Miles, but there's not with George Coleman. So I think the box has value in that regard as well. So people can, I know George Coleman a little bit. I have his Miles stuff. I have some of his stuff on Timeless, but I don't have as many of his recordings. So this will be a way to explore his style and get to know it a little better.
Yeah, no, it's a great box set, great release, great. I appreciate the release. Forget about the AAA stuff and go get the history.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, obviously, like AAA stuff is always fun, but like this is a different type of project. I don't want to use the term archival. I don't think that does anything justice, but I do feel like this is an experience to hear these early second quintets, and really kind of understand what Miles was going through, in the early 60s before he connected with Wayne and kind of was set up with that incredible group. So yeah, it'll be cool to hear.
I mean, the other part of it for me that I love about this series, even though I only have one, is that they're live. I love hearing these festival sets, man, because it's totally different than them going into the studio, So much more
For sure.
energy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, that's it. Let us know if you're going to get this, what you think about this box set coming out. And we'll see you guys next time. Thanks.
Thanks, everybody.